beautiful day he has made, right? I woke up this morning and I looked out the window and it was so bright and beautiful. And I started singing, I've got sunshine in my soul today. And it's amazing how music and all of these lyrics we've learned long ago come back to uplift us on a daily basis. Well, welcome, welcome. And we had another miracle today because we were concerned about this light bulb not working in the projector, which would have prevented us in person from seeing Phil Pearson today. It's on. It's on. Isn't that wonderful? And Eric was telling us that that light bulb could cost $1,500 for the center here to replace it. So we're very thankful that today we have light, and we affirmed that, didn't we? That today all things are in order. So
Eric,
welcome to all of you who have come out, for all of you who
well,
are on
I'm not
Zoom,
hearing any
for
voice
connecting
up
with Phil. We're
here
so
for
glad to
some
have him
reason.
back again to give us
Is your
his
volume
word.
turned up?
And we'll be reading the daily word today, and we'll be singing Amazing
My
Grace
volume.
on page 16. I'll do some announcements, and then we're going to have a meditation song,
It's
The
got to be
Bread
something
That
on your
Giveth
either your
Strength.
computer or
I think that's
your
the
iPad or
first
whatever
of the
you're using.
meditation. And
You might
Phil
have
will
to turn
give
the
us
volume
his
up
lesson,
so that you'll
and
be
we'll
able
have
to
the
hear you.
offering, and our closing song will be
Yeah.
Let There Be Peace on Earth. Right when Marianne has been wanting us to sing that song, and I hope she's on Zoom. And then we'll have our prayer for
Well,
protection.
I
So that's the
don't,
order
Phil,
for the
we
service
can hear
today.
you.
as far as I know,
So
my
I hope
volume is up.
everything's well in your world. It's probably a busy
Using
week
your
as you're
computer
making
or
plans
your
for
iPad?
making
I'm
the
using a
hike, but
computer.
hopefully you'll be having
Okay.
opportunity to break bread together.
I think.
So I'll just get right into the daily word, and I love it for
It
today.
says mute.
The day is
I
grace.
turned that off.
Isn't that beautiful?
No, it says mute. That's me.
Grace blesses my life in every way. If I'm feeling overwhelmed or find myself in the midst of conflict, I don't need to struggle. Grace, the ceaseless activity of divine love, is mine to claim. This infinite resource of spirit carries me through even the most challenging circumstances. It is expressing in my life right now. I need not earn grace. It is never withheld. Just as water flows when I turn the tap, saying yes to grace is all I have to do for divine life, love, wisdom, and strength to flow freely to every part of my life. Centered in grace, I am at peace. My thinking is clear, and I possess ample understanding, compassion, and insight. Drawing from this divine gift, I bring harmony and joy to my relationships. I move forward with renewed confidence, energy, and efficiency. From 2 Corinthians, the 12th chapter and the 9th verse, I read, He said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for power is made perfect in weakness. I love that. My grace is sufficient for you. And today when I did my daily word on Facebook, my word was enough. And we have enough, don't we? We have all we need. He said he'd supply all of our needs. Oh my, that's so wonderful. And now, it may be a little bit in a different order, but let's go ahead and do our affirmations. There is only one power, one presence, one love active in my life, God the good, omnipotent. Together? There is only one presence, one power, and one love active in my life, God the good, omnipotent. And for you, there is only one presence, one power, and one love active in your life, God, the good, omnipotent. Together, there is only one presence, one power, one love, active in your life, God, the good, omnipotent. And there is only one presence, one power, and one love, active in this ministry, God, the good, omnipotent. And together, there is only one presence, one power, and one love, active in this ministry, God, the good, omnipotent. And for the bigger picture, there is only one presence, one power, and one love, active in the world today, God, the good, omnipotent. Together, there is only one presence, one power, and one love, active in the world today, God, the good, omnipotent. That's so powerful. And we could go into our congregational song today, since grace was the word for today, and most of us will be thinking or feeling grace as we sit down to a Thanksgiving dinner. And it's no other song that's better than Amazing Grace on page 16.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to sing, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already passed. 'Tis grace that taught me safe thus far to freedom that will last.
Thank you, Ben. Oh, I love that song. We could probably sing that over and over again. And we have an amazing grace in our service every Sunday, don't we? Thank you, Eric. Eric Grace, what a name to grace us with. And we thank Karen for being at the book table, and Cindy's here today, and our other people, and Jackie's priming her voice to come back and be with us again soon. So we're so thankful for that. As far as announcements go, we have a sale on the Daily Word. It took them a while to arrive. And since we've concluded November, or are concluding November, it will be available for only $2.50, half price at the book table if you want to get that. And another book that has been presented to us is Unity, A Quest for Truth by Eric Butterworth. And that's at the table as well. And of course, we still have Phil Pearson's books there. And I brought two of my books too for anyone who may not have it and would like to have it. It's a free copy. And another book, I Wish You More, and we can add whatever word we want at the end of that. And today is grace. So I wish you more grace. Those are all available. This last week, I did get my own personal copy of Mark Hicks' book. And I got an email from him or his organization stating that this book is downloadable free. So if you're on Zoom and you want to get a copy of his book downloaded free, send me an email at Ben or Esther at sbcglobal.net, and I will forward you his email, and you can just download it free. And as I looked through this book, much of it was what he talked about last week, about his 3 points. And I know I've attended Unity for a long time, but I haven't been a very good student. So there's so much to read. And I actually think if a person read his book, you wouldn't qualify to be a minister for Unity, but you know what? I think you would have all the material you need. And so I just really like that. So let's get into our next meditation song, which is on page 169. And I'm going to ask Sharon to play it first because I don't know this song. Abide in Me? Oh, great. Why don't you go ahead and play it through first? So what I'm going to do is I just want, as she softly plays the piano, I just want to read the words. I want these words to really resonate with you. And for those of you who are on Zoom and may not have the book, I will read them for you. They're just so beautiful. It says, "The bread that giveth strength, I want to give. The water pure that bids the thirsty live. I want to help the fainting day by day. This is my place in life, to love God's way. I want to give the oil of joy for tears, the faith to conquer crowding doubts and fears. Beauty for ashes may I give always. This is my place in life, to love God's way. I want to give good measure, running over, the faith to conquer crowding, no, I messed it up, and into angry hearts I want to pour, the answer soft that turneth wrath away. This is my place in life, to love God's way. I want to give to others hope and faith. I want to do all that the Master saith. I want to live aright from day to day. This is my place in life, to love God's way. And as she continues playing, I just want us to go into that wonderful place of meditation where we all center on why we are here, and that is to love and to serve and to give and to share. There's no better gift than to be able to give to others what we have learned and what we are still learning. And as you come to that quiet place, I just hope that you will look forward to as you break bread with your friends and or family this next week. And as Mark pointed out last week, we all want to belong. We all want to be loved just as we are. We all have this need to belong to a family or a tribe or a congregation or the world. And we are all here for a special purpose. There are no accidents. We are here by divine order, not only in this meeting room, not only on Zoom, but wherever we go, every step of our life. And as Phil pointed out in his book, we need to surrender. And we need to remember it's so simple to love God with all of our heart, with our body, with our mind, with our soul, and to love our neighbors as ourselves. It need not be complicated with doctrine and rules. It need not be hoops we have to jump through. We are made in the image of God. We are His servants. We are His hands and feet. We are His children. And through all of that, we are part of the divine and are divine. Take a moment to know who you are. Take a moment to love who you are. Take a moment to be centered in that oneness that we all share, that one presence, that one power, that one love in the universe today. Sometimes it's hard to leave that special place, isn't it? That special place where we're all united. I'm so thankful that today, as we enjoy the service continuing, to welcome back Phil Pearson. And it's so wonderful that we'll be able to see him on the screen today. Those of you who are here will be able to hear his voice. And I know some of you, like us, have enjoyed his ministry for over 30, 40, maybe 50 years. And we all know and love him so much. And I'll always be thankful that he tied the knot with Ben and I 33 years ago. Thank you, Phil, for being willing to be with us, even on those days when we wonder if technology is going to cooperate. But we affirmed it would, and it is. So I welcome you here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. It's always special to be with my Sacramento Unity family. I feel sort of complete when I'm with you. And today I have the privilege of reaffirming something that some of you know is truly at the very core of my spiritual life. And that is the conviction that God is very personal in our lives. This God, this consciousness that has created the entire universe, has within its own unfoldment of purpose maintained a capacity to be able to relate to us individually in terms of our personal needs, our need for guidance, for inspiration. It isn't just a generalized thought that, yeah, God is good and God's there somewhere. God is right where you are at all times. For God is mind, and so are you. Even though we function in our body form, we are mind, and therefore God has no trouble whatsoever being constantly present in our lives. And not only inspires us and gives us guidance in terms of inspiration and thought, but in terms of making things happen in our lives that are important for the unfoldment of our heart's desire, what it is we most want to have present for ourselves. I'm quite conscious when I say that to some people, it's not always met with great joy to think, you mean the mind of this entire universe is present with me right now and watching over my life? Oh, I'm not too sure I need that. I'm doing pretty well all on my own. And besides, look what happened to Jesus. Because we know that Jesus believed in his personal relationship with God. He believed that he was the Son of God, because he affirmed this for us too, as children of God. But we know Jesus clearly believed that he was the Son of God and had this personal connection. And look what happened to him. Well, today I want to ask you the question. Well, what did happen to Jesus by trusting in God's guidance? Well, we immediately think of the biblical story of the Garden of Eden and Jesus' conversation with God at that time. And as we have it in Scripture, it would seem that Jesus was being told by God that he was to go to Jerusalem. And it seems that Jesus was having a little problem with that. And so there was an exchange apparently. And finally, Jesus said, "Not my will, but thy will be done." And so Jesus went to Jerusalem and the crucifixion. Well, let me ask you what might have happened if that conversation had gone differently. What if God had said to Jesus, "Okay, Jesus, if you really don't want to go, don't go." And so Jesus happily returned to his work with his disciples and went on doing the things that he did so well, healing people and teaching the truth, and lived to a wonderful old age for that day and time. And finally, he sort of ran out of steam and he's lying in bed, and his disciples have all gathered around him and are loving him as he's obviously making his dying experience, going through the death experience. And finally, he lets go and he dies with a smile on his face. A little later, Peter, who is the leader of the disciples at that time, apparently, Peter calls them all together and says, "Okay, now our blessed Jesus is gone, but we have to get his message out to the world. And so I am going to send all of you forth to teach Jesus' teachings, to let others know this wonderful truth. Now, I'm aware as I send you forth that you may run into a little trouble. That is, not everybody's going to be happy with what you're saying. Indeed, they may even throw stones at you. Matter of fact, they might even want to put you through the same thing that Jesus did. They may want to crucify you in some places. Not everybody's going to be happy with Jesus' message, but you're called to take that message out into the world. Now, who's going first? And lo and behold, everything got awful quiet suddenly. The disciples look at each other, and finally one of them hesitantly says, "Well, I'll go." Do you think, even begin to think, that the disciples would have gone forth, having watched Jesus slip away, as most humans do, and said, I'm going to go out there and share his message now, and I maybe find myself in big, big trouble. Do you think they would go forth with an eagerness to do that work? I suggest to you that they wouldn't have. I suggest that the message of Jesus that has been brought forth into the world, and the scriptures that were put together then in capturing this teaching, were all done because Jesus went to Jerusalem and was crucified. Because he put before his disciples the total conviction that he had of this, and that, of course, with his resurrection experience, was enough to give them the energy and the courage to go forth and spread this message. Now, if you and I had been observers on the scene at that time, we might not have known how absolutely essential it probably was. It was, not probably, it was that Jesus went to Jerusalem and upon the cross, because it was only his willingness to do that that gave the disciples the courage to walk after him and go forth. Jesus' personal direction from God knew this, and knew that Jesus' whole desire was to get his message out before the world. But that mind of God also knew that that wasn't going to happen, not by Jesus just slipping away and making his transition the way most people do. It needed the power, the drama of the crucifixion to light the fire in the hearts and minds of the disciples, to get Jesus' heart desire, which is to share his message with the world. And that's what happened. And only the mind of God knew that. And that's why God said to Jesus, to Jerusalem, my friend, go. Because that was Jesus' desire, was to get his message out, and that was the only way to get it done. The wisdom of God knows for all of us the path that we need to take, not just to serve God, but to serve our heart's desire. God is personally involved in each one of our lives to make this happen, and that is to give us the guidance to make it happen. I think of one of my heroes, as many of you know, is Teilhard de Chardin. And this Jesuit priest who gave us the marvelous philosophy of evolution, his heart desire, his whole being was to get his message about how God has evolved his presence in humankind through mind, that he felt there was no theory of evolution that even approached this. And I agree with him. And so he wanted with all his being to get this out to the world. But you know, because he was committed to the Catholic Church as a priest, every time he would write his ideas on paper to get them published as he wanted for the world to be able to have access to, the church refused to let him publish it. Well, his influence was enough, though, on people of some merit, that the words got out to the world that this Catholic priest had a message that the church would not let be published. And so when our friend Teilhard made his transition, he died with the belief at a conscious level in his physical self that he had failed to receive or reach his goal of getting his ideas published for the world to read. But the truth is that it was because he didn't get them published, and that word had come out to the world of the intellectual areas of the world, that this drama of his inability to get these great ideas out to the world had been shut down by the church. it was a story that has circulated amongst thinking people around the world, so that when Jesus died, not Jesus, when Teilhard died, and his most immediate friends had all of his work published of his life experience, when they came out in public form, they come up with all the drama and the interest of thinking people around the world. And they wanted to hear what he had to say. Now, they had always been there. Many had sent their desire to Teilhard. They wanted to see his stuff in print, but it just couldn't have happened, didn't happen, wouldn't happen. But because when they were published, there were so many thinking people expecting to read what he had to say, that other people like myself, who really wasn't aware of him, heard about this work that was being published now after being shut down by the church. I wanted to know what he had to say. And I was accompanied by probably literally hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people around the world who wanted to buy his book and to learn what his philosophy was about evolution. So, in making that point, I am trying to affirm for us that what Teilhard wanted was what he got. He got his message out to the world. But if he had done it his way, which is published work, I never would have heard it. The only reason I heard it again was all the drama of his not being able to publish it. So God, in God's wisdom, knew that this was the way in which things needed to go forward in regard to Teilhard's life. Now, in both those stories, the story of Jesus and the story of Teilhard, it seems like they paid a real tough price of having to live their lives without seeing their goal accomplished. But in terms of what their heart's desire was, which, knowing that they continue to live in the great ongoing of life, they finally became aware of the way things unfolded according to the movement of spirit in their lives. It was for their highest good. I think I have enough time to remind you of one chestnut story out of my life. I've shared most of my stories with you over the years, but this particular story, which I'm sure many of you have heard, I play over and over again because there's no other way you could interpret this story than to realize that at this point in my life, it was clear that God and his personal connection to me, like all of you have the same personal connection, this personal connection to me was meeting an immediate need for my life in an incredibly personal, unique way, way beyond the possibility of synchronicity. It wasn't just a synchronistic happenstance. So let me remind you of the story. As I say, I go over and over myself every once in a while when I think, I don't seem to be getting the guidance, God. And then I pull out this story and I go over it again. I think, oh, there's no question. God is right there working in my life and I am getting my guidance. Be patient. So anyway, the story that I want to remind you of is when I left the oil business because I had, in my own readings of the Bible, had discovered that Jesus was trying to tell us that the things that he did, we can do also. I mean, it opened a incredible thought I'd never had before. My position always was to love and respect and appreciate the miracle of Jesus' life, saying things like, be loving, be good, love God with all heart, soul, and mind. But I never related to that. I could live with the dominion of Jesus eventually as I opened myself to it. And so I wanted to tell the world this because that changes your whole perspective of life. But I didn't know where I could teach with any other group that was already established this message. Where could I be a minister in this world? And I had been in the Episcopal Church and it wasn't there. That's not their philosophy. And so I began the search, as many of you know, and it went over about a 6-7 year period before I finally found it. But along the way, I had this one experience that I go over and over. As I say, I left the oil business, started this quest, couldn't find a ministry. And so I finally thought, well, maybe I am supposed to go back in business, make a lot of money, and somehow help the church that way. And so I took a job as a regional manager for Standard & Poor's Corporation. Standard & Poor's is, as many of you know, probably the world's largest investment advisory service company. They service all the brokers, they service you, and they serve many people individually. So in any event, I took this position as regional manager with them. After I had done that for some time, thinking, well, God doesn't have a place for me in the ministry, I'll do this, and somehow it'll work for good. But after a while, I don't have the heart for trying to do, in quotes, business. And I thought, I really want to go in the ministry, dear God. And so I resigned from Standard & Poor's again. And I started the search again. I thought, after I continued to look and couldn't find a ministry to relate to, I decided to go down and visit my friend in Washington, D.C., who had many contacts. And I thought, well, maybe something of interest in that has a breadth to it, like politics or the Red Cross or something. And my friend had a lot of wonderful contacts with the people at the top. So I had interviews with a number of them, but nothing opened up. And you have to know, I was really intense to find my place in life. This wasn't just off the top of the head. And so after one day of having a couple of meetings that were very discouraging for me, my friends were all going out for the evening, and my friend, I was staying in his apartment. They all left, and I stayed there by myself. And pretty soon it was time to go to bed. So I went to bed, but before I did what I had been doing as a good Episcopalian. I got down by the bed on my knees and I prayed. And I said, I remember this word so distinctly. I said, God, somebody must need me. Now, do you think that God is personal enough that God could hear me in that word? Somebody must need me. Anyway, I got back in bed and sort of half discouraged and all the rest, and I'm lying there in bed, and of course it's dark, and suddenly the phone rings in my friend's apartment. And I thought, well, I should answer that. I guess he might be calling me. Doesn't know I've gone to bed. So I got up and I said, hello. And this voice said, Phil, this is Bill Darling. Well, Bill Darling, now remind you, it must have been about 10 o'clock at night. Bill Darling was vice president of Standard & Poor's Corporation. He's a very busy man with a big responsibility in this corporation. And he's calling me because I had worked under him before, so I knew him, all right. But here he is, 10 o'clock at night, Bill Darling's called me. I said, well, Bill, what's up? And now this is the key. His first words were to me, Phil, I need you. Whoa, I had just said to God, somebody must need me. And here's my friend Bill saying, I need you. His first words to me, not 3 sentences in, and it says, I could use you. No, my very words, the first words he spoke, I need you. I said, you do? He said, yeah, I need you as regional rep for this particular area. He said, it's opened up and I really need you to take it on. And at that point, I was so awed by his using those words, I need you. I didn't hesitate. I said, how soon do you want me in New York? And then he said, how soon can you get here? So off I went. And here I am again, doing what I said I would not do, because I clearly had this happening of clear response to my prayer. I was obviously heard by a mind that could put all this together, somehow would arrange this very busy man in New York City to call me at a specific time when I had just uttered words that were so unique for me. Somebody must need me, and have those words used. How could that all be arranged except by a mind of incredible capacity to make anything happen? So anyway, to finish that story, as most of you know, I went back with Sand Pours. That took me into a region where there was a unity activity, and I discovered unity. And then I was on my way. I never looked back. Thank you, God. So I remind you of this story again, why I go over and over, because it is so clearly evidence that this mind that we call God is totally aware of where you are at all times, not in any forms of judgment, only in absolute love, to let your life unfold in the ways that would best fulfill God's Spirit within you, that you recognize yourself by desires that you have for the use and the perfect expression of your life story. So how can we begin to keep this in the forefront of our thought? We do it by, of course, being so moved by the power of this realization that we can't even begin to think of going through a day without acknowledging that presence. I mean, that you should be so blessed by the very mind that created the universe surely warrants you in saying, this is my best friend. Jesus said, as your father. But if you can't go that far, you can say, God is my best friend. God is always there to work for me. Intimately. It knows what I say in my prayers. It knows what I say in my bad times, but it always embraces me in this spirit of love that wants to go before me and open doors for me. I just have to give that loving presence room by spending time with it, with God, with our Father every day. And of course, if we can embrace the idea that God is my Father, not my physical father, but my spiritual Father, who gave me life and purpose, is right with me every moment of my life. And so it's my privilege, it should be my joy to spend some time with this God presence every day, and to spend time opening the breadth of our relationship by the expression of love. Love is the great connector in the universe, as we all know. And so as we're loving God this day, as you're listening to me right now, every one of you has a desire in your heart for the betterment of your life, or maybe just meeting the basic needs of your life. As you take time to spend time daily with God, you can know that God is knowing your need and working it out for you. Like, however, with Jesus and with Teilhard, the direction that you get in terms of things that are moving in your life may not seem to be going in the right direction. But at the same time, you can know that if you have fulfilled your connection, your relationship to God, and given thanks for your guidance, for the Spirit of God going before you and opening the right doors for you, it's happening. Nothing can keep it from happening except you're turning off the connection. And once again, I'm touching one of my favorite subjects, as you know, because you say, oh, Phil, all he talks about is connecting with God. And I do, because I think that's where it all is. Love God with all your heart and soul and mind, and your neighbor as yourself, because you can't really love God to any great extent if you're not loving your neighbor and yourself. So Jesus knew that when he gave us that thought. Well, today I, as always, feel very close to all of you. And I know, as I affirmed several times in this talk, I know you have needs that are present in your life. I know with you right now, God is working for you to bring forth your highest good. Do not be fooled by the time involved. Do not be fooled by the appearances. Just daily have your session with God and give thanks that all things are working together for good in your life. And the desire of your heart is God's highest desire for you as well. Be at peace. God bless you all. Thank you for having me with you today. Bye.
Thank you, Phil. Isn't it wonderful that we get just what we need? I trust that each of you today have been blessed by this wonderful message that there are no accidents, that we are all here in divine order. Thank you, Sylvia, for taking our offering today and giving us all an opportunity to give and to enjoy this giving season as we do that here today. Thank you, Sharon. We give thanks for this opportunity to share our abundant gifts. We give thanks that we can give. We give thanks that we want to give and that we give in love. It's such a blessing. Thank you. Well, I want to give a shout out to Claudia, who blessed us with some wonderful nuts. She had a friend who had nuts and wanted to share them. And of course, Ben and I were more than eager to go out and get some. So I got my little hammer out and I cracked all the nuts out of the shell and brought a bowl full of them for you to enjoy today with little bags so you can take whatever you'd like home from service. So give wherever you can, however you can, and in whatever manner you can. So I hope you'll take advantage of that today. Oh, I'm just thinking about how wonderful it is that God directs all of us in our lives. It's just a willingness to follow, isn't it? And it's free, freely given. We're so fortunate. Oh, I just want to bask in this presence. And as Dorothy used to say, I behold the Christ in you. Isn't that true? For each and every one of us, we are the embodiment of that spirit. So we're going to gather together. We have a smaller circle today, but it's not the numbers that matters. It's the togetherness that we get to share. And we're going to sing Let There Be Peace on Earth on page 3. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us love each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To live each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The light of
God surrounds us. The love of God guides us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you. Thank you. Bless you. It's good to have you.
Happy Thanksgiving and blessings to all.
Bye, everybody.
Hi,
Bye,
Lily.
Lillian.
Bye, Lily.
Have a good
Bye.
day.
Happy
Have
Thanksgiving.
a happy Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Happy
yeah.
Thanksgiving to all.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you
Thank
all.
you.
Yeah, Claudia's cooking, so I'm happy.
Thanksgiving.